Welcome to Wildlife Outdoors with your host, Russell and Jose. If you have a passion for conservation of the outdoors, or you're enjoying a calming hike in the mountains, an exhilarating kayak trip on the river, feeling a fish on the end of your line, cooking on an open flame in a primitive campsite, or stalking big game, just waiting for the perfect shot, you're in the right place. So put on your boots and polarized sunglasses and come along for the ride.
Welcome back to Wildlife Outdoors with Jose and Russell. Today we are joined by a special guest. His name is Chris Marrero. He is an avid outdoorsman who loves duck hunting. He's a Navy man who's actually going to be reserves from active duty, and he is also a dedicated father. So y'all help us welcome Chris Marrero. How you doing, man?
Good, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Glad to be here, man.
Hey, we're happy to have you, man. So I've said before in previous podcasts that I'm not really the biggest hunter. I love hunting, but I'm not the most experienced hunter. So I'm happy to have you on and talk with somebody that's done some duck hunting, has been successful at it, and go from there. So I see behind you got some ducks on the wall. What are those?
Yeah, I got a couple mallards. Got a drake in the hand following, and then this other side there is my pintail. And I got a couple in the freezer too. They're waiting for some mounts too, but it's actually crazy because these three birds were all from one hunt. So
really,
one hunt, and I got a whole different kind of bag of birds. So I got really lucky. So
that's awesome. You get all those down in Texas?
I did, yeah. So I actually won it during a Texas Parks and Wildlife raffle hunt. So
nice.
Back in, I want to say 2021, I put in for one, and I was selected for, I want to say it was Richland Creek out in Corsicana. And it was the last day of duck hunting out there. It was like January 28th, 29th. And I remember it's so funny because duck hunting is so weird, man. Like I want to say my first duck hunt was like in 2018 with my father-in-law. And from there, I've been kind of getting little pieces here and there, but I really haven't dug too much deep into it until this year. So back then in 2021, when I went out there, I just had some basic waders, like did not have any gear whatsoever. But it's funny because I go out to this WMA out there, and that's pretty cool because you'll draw a different site. There's different spots. It's right next to a refuge too, so all the ducks out there are hanging out, and they're chilling and stuff. So I get to my spot, and I remember thinking, like, I got some decoys off of Facebook Marketplace. Like, these things are old. They're fiberglass. It's funny because I'll still take them out. And people will laugh at me. I'm like, dude, I don't care, man. They work, because everybody else got their, $200-$300 decoys, brand new, nice, paint's bright. And here's my big old loaf of bread that's painted, that's floating next to me, and it's heavy. And they're like, dude, what is that? I'm like, look, I don't ask questions, and neither do the birds. So as long as they're coming in, it's working.
Hey, as long as it gets the job done.
Exactly. So I'm walking out to this middle of the spot, and I remember the guy telling me, like, hey, the only coverage you have in this spot is about 150 yards, and there's like a bunch of reeds just right in the center. So you're going to have to hide out there unless you really want to brush up somewhere on the bank. But I'd recommend getting right in the middle and go hang out there. So I was like, all right, cool. So I thought about it. I'm like, well, I need to be able to bring a lot of my stuff back. So I went to the gas station, got one of those cheap styrofoam coolers. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use this like a little sled. So I basically hooked my bag of decoys in that styrofoam little cooler, and that's what I carry my birds in, and so they could float whenever I picked them back out. But good Lord, man, I was freezing my butt off, and that hike in like muddy water and mucky water and stuff like that, and that silt, good Lord, I was gassed. I'd have to stop every 50 yards, and you just kill over. You're like, good man, I cannot breathe. Like, I'm out of shape, but this sucks. Like, why do people do this for fun? And I thought about that when I was first getting out there, but it wasn't until after I shot those birds and I saw, like, okay, now I see it. Now I get it, But But yeah, those three birds were from the same hunt, and man, it was awesome to have that all those birds around you. It was definitely a really cool feeling. So I think that's what really got me hooked that one day.
That's awesome. Yeah, from everybody that I've talked to that duck hunts, like they talk about how cold it is, how wet it is, how early you have to get up, like all this stuff that I mean, to me, I've never been duck hunting, so I just don't know the thrill of it. And all these people just explain how miserable it can be, but yet they go back day in and day out to do it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess I just don't know because I've never been, but what is the appeal of going duck hunting?
Man, I guess I'm just a sucker for pain, man, because it's the same thing. You're cold, you're wet. Um, Dude, I've fallen through ice trying to get a bird. Like my whole hands are frozen, my gun's frozen up, and like you get done, you're like, good man, that sucked a lot. And you think about it, and even the drive there too. Like you're driving there, and you're like, dang, I can see the temperature on the dash, and it's early. I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I think the biggest part for sure, like I'd go by myself and stuff, but I think the best part for me that I like the most is definitely going with somebody and having
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
aspect because it's just like dove hunting. You go out there and you hang out, you're kicking it with someone, um, but you just get to enjoy that, and you watch them, fall in the water and it's funny and stuff like that too. But you're getting to hang out with somebody. You get those nasty conditions. There's rain, there might be even snow and sleet and stuff like that. But to me, the birds are for sure like beautiful birds. I love their colors. I love their feathers and stuff like that. Um, and I wasn't a fan of eating them as well until I learned how to cook them. Once I
Yeah.
learned how to make them, dude, these things are money. So now I know, like, okay, now there's more of a rhyme to a reason to this as well. But really, just hanging out with the people and being able to hunt with somebody, I would say it's definitely a game changer. I think that's where it really got me hooked into it. It's so kind of different from deer hunting because you're just sitting there, you're quiet. Duck hunting, it's like no, you're messing with someone, you're throwing things at people, you're laughing at them because they're missing birds. Like it's a whole experience.
I see. Man, I need to get out there and do it.
Yeah,
I know that you're talking about cooking them, and Jose, I don't remember if it was him or one of his friends. He was talking about that there's a certain kind of duck, maybe it was a coot, and the way to cook them. You remember that,
Yeah,
Jose? You should
I
tell
do
that.
remember that. So I will kind of give you a little bit of my background, Chris. So I went to school for a few years down in South Texas. Prior to that, I hadn't had like any duck hunting experience whatsoever. But I met a group of dudes who just liked being outside. They liked going hunting and stuff like that. And it was kind of cool about the Texas coast. I don't know if you've hunted the coast at all, but
yeah,
as long as like you can find a little island or whatever, it's pretty much all like it's a public waterway. So it's like
yeah.
public land essentially. So you can just go like if you can find a way to get to a little island, whatever, you're pretty much good to go. So that's what my buddy had this like old rickety like so rackety friggin' John boat, and it was like leaking sometimes. It was kind of sketchy a little bit, but I mean, dude, we would load up in that thing and we would just take off and find somewhere to go. And a lot of us like we're just learning as we were going type thing. And so I can kind of like I think you said it perfectly when you were talking about how you're like why duck hunting is so fun because if you're gonna go because I mean the best duck hunting is when it's cold and when it's wet. The wetter and the colder, the nastier, the better. So if you're gonna be sitting out there by yourself, I mean that's pretty shitty. Like
Yeah,
it's not fun. But being around people and giving each other like a hard time and it's like a I don't know I guess some camaraderie and the suffering if you will. But
exactly.
but yeah, man, it was a blast. So I that was kind of my foray into duck hunting, and it's honestly one of my favorites. Also, just because it's like more interactive when you can actually see the birds, give them a couple calls, and watch them work the decoys. I mean, it's a blast. It's total 180 compared to deer hunting. Not to say I don't enjoy that either, because I do, and I know you do. You got a nice book on the wall, but there's just something different about duck hunting, man. But anyways. So going back to what Russell was saying, my buddy was like, he's like, you ever try coot? I was like, nah, man, I never tried that. And he goes, dude, let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you the best way to cook them. I was like, all right, let's hear it. He goes, so what you do is you take your coot, season it however you want it, and you get a nice plank, right? You get the plank soaked so it don't burn up on you. You put the coot on the plank, throw it in the pit till it gets done. So you take it off and you throw the coot away and you eat the plank. All right.
I don't know why every time he tells that it gets me. I think it's freaking hilarious.
That's so funny, dude. Because, but that's where my first hunt was at on the Texas coast. So I went out with my father-in-law and we hit up those. There's public land blinds out there, and I learned I guess those are guide blinds. But if they see somebody who's not a guide, they're not going to give you any hell about it. You know, they're going to let you hunt at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first one was out there on the Corpus Christi Bay out there on those blinds. But I got a buddy though that I go out with. He's funny, man. He loves shooting coots. He's a coot killer, man. So
Really?
yeah, he loves it, man. It's so hilarious. I'll give him shit every time. But we'll be out there like the last time we were out there. We saw some birds, but they weren't committing. The wind was too much for them. But they just were not coming in at all. We get some flybys and stuff like that, but they didn't want to commit. I think that's one thing too, you know, being able to call, not like deer hunting where you're just sitting there. I mean, you might throw a grunt here and there, but being able to call too, and work on that and see them come in is definitely a different feeling. But so we had a couple coot come in, and he's already getting frustrated too because we seen birds and they fly off, and he's pissed. He's like, I just want to fucking shoot something. He's grumbling, he's moaning and groaning, and I'm laughing, right? I'm laughing at him, and then he's like, screw it, I'm shooting the coot. I was like, don't shoot the coot, man. Don't. What the coot do you know? So he shoots the coot, and ever since then, he's been like, every coot he sees, he's like, I'm taking that coot. And I'm at his thing is like, I'm adding him to the pot, and he's actually gone out. He's looked up like Louisiana coot recipes and stews and stuff because they'll eat them down there. They call them pool do, and it's funny because I think I mentioned that to a friend. He's like, man, I don't care what kind of name you church them up with, they're still coot and they're still nasty. But no, he'll shoot them. So every time he shoots one, I'm always yelling, coot killer. So
That's freaking awesome. So how do you tell the difference? Like, how do you ID birds when they're flying in, or how you need to adjust your call and stuff like that?
so it's hard. I'm still kind of get used to it with, you know, IDing them. If you get the sun on them, you can tell, of course, you know, you get your big birds, your big ducks, like your mallards and pintails and stuff like that. Teal usually fly together pretty fast in packs and stuff like that. When it comes down to calling, though, it really kind of finesses a lot of things because you can do it too much, and sometimes less is more. And I've learned that real quick. I've learned that a call is a tool, not an instrument. So you really want to specify what you're doing. So whenever you see a bird, you want to throw out a little greeting call, let them know that you're there, right? Throw a little feed in there. Maybe somebody's on like a little teal whistle, give it a mallard drake. You could even do some teal peeps, or some pintail little whistles on that too. Which I usually carry, I would say 3 calls on me. I have another one getting made for me now, but maybe 3. I'd say 3 is what you need. I started off with a Primos winch, just a $20 something you get at Academy. I think it's good because it really makes you work a little bit harder for it to get that good tone. And once you go from that to a nicer call, it's a lot easier. But that and like a 6-in-1 whistle is all you need. You can do so many calls, but yeah, you give them a little greeting call, see if they come in, get a little feed and chuckle. And then for the last resort, if they're not coming whatsoever, you give them a hail call and see if they can turn them. And I've done that a couple times and it works, but sometimes that'll flare them. So
I see.
It's real picky, and it's, not gonna lie, man. I was a real big sky blaster whenever I was first starting. You get real excited that bird's coming 20, 30 yards and like, I'm taking them. But you have to learn a lot of patience because those birds they'll come in and they'll swoop in and then they'll circle back around, they'll fly back out, and you get real like kind of nervous, like, are they going to turn around? They're going to flare off, and they'll come back and they'll circle again on another pass, and then they'll come in. And once you get them feet down, it's over. That's when you take them out. So it's a whole It's a whole experience, though, man. And I think that's what really makes it fun too.
Dude. And it also depends like on region and time of year, season, stuff like that. Because you got to think these birds are more migrating from north to south. So by the time they get to us, they've been shot at so many times.
Yep,
They've heard all the
exactly,
calls. They've seen all the things. Like they're smart, man. They're real smart.
exactly.
So so a lot of times, yeah, like Chris said, less is more. You only really hit them when you feel like you need to. But cause and if you ever go to the marsh, like you can hear dudes like just calling and quacking like all the morning long, and they might get some birds for sure, but it's like you can definitely do it too much. You can scare them. Your decoy spreads, you have to be a little bit more on point, man. Like I've seen, there have been times where we're hunting and like pintail, and for whatever reason, those birds are so smart, dude. They'll fly over us like 3 or 4 times. Something just don't look right, they're gone, and we're like, what the hell, man? So we go into the spread, try to figure out what's going on, and we had a little cord hanging over the back of one of the decoys, and it was just enough to flare them out, man. They're like, nope,
Really?
we ain't that dumb. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And like early season birds tend to be they'll work with you a little bit more. You know, they're a little bit more naive, if you will. But the later
Mhm.
season birds, the birds that are coming in from after being blasted and all that stuff, man, they're so damn smart, bro. It's crazy.
Dude, that's what I've
It's
heard.
crazy.
So I've done a lot of research because this year I wanted to try to get out there and try to do some duck hunting. And so I started looking up all sorts of stuff. And the region I'm in, I'm obviously up here in Arkansas, and so I was looking up specifically for my region, like the ins and outs of duck hunting. And everybody says that ducks are ridiculously smart. They actually have good hearing. That's how they actually navigate
Hmm.
and stuff. That they have pretty good eyesight, but they're just really intuitive. And I was like, that's freaking crazy to think about because dove are I mean they're birds and they're somewhat smart, but they'll flow right in front of you if you're in the right spot. But I heard duck were a lot more picky on where they'd come in and stuff like that. And to me, I guess it's kind of intimidating. But I don't know. I need to get out there, and that's one thing when I was asking about the identification and stuff because if you can't ID it and you're shooting around birds, like I'm not gonna try to shoot a bird that's out of season or anything like that. So
The thing that's kind of well, duck hunting in and of itself, like the decoy spreads, how to set them up, how many you need, all that stuff. That can be kind of daunting to figure out. And then you have the
mhm.
calls. How many do you need? How to blow it properly? All that. And then to add into that, like each species has its own individual bag limit that goes towards the overall bag limit.
Mhm.
So you have to be on point with your ID, like especially in
Yeah.
the heat of the moment, because like redheads, I don't know if they've adjusted their bag limits, but they used to be 2 per person per day whenever we were hunting on the coast. And these are federally regulated. It's not by state; it's federally
Yeah.
regulated. And so this is like I think it's for every state. These are the limits. And
Yep,
so if and redheads look kind of similar to a canvasback,
yep.
and they have their own limit. And so it's just so if you're not careful, like it can easily get mixed up. And then also you have like hybrids, which are crazy too. And then you have like black ducks. They look kind of like a mallard hen. Like there's just little nuances that make them so hard to tell apart sometimes. So the best thing that you can do, especially as a new hunter, is if you don't know, if you're not sure, as much as you want to pull the trigger, do not pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Like if there's any shadow of a doubt, don't do it. And it's good to go with some. If there's, it's good to go. Like it's good to have a mentor, someone who knows what they're doing, because they can show you. They can kind of like shorten that learning curve a little bit. But dude, it is really really tough, man. And then like you get super excited and you start seeing what you want to see, and it may not
Mhm.
be what what you think it's gonna be, and it's crazy. But to me, that's like part of the fun of duck hunting. You just never know, man. You just never know. You're just chilling, just hanging out. And all you see is next thing you know, you see a bufflehead just rocketing across the bay, or like some like cinnamon teal or like whatever red green winged teal just coming in. I mean, it's just crazy. You just never know what you're gonna see. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun, man.
See, I feel like identification for me really won't matter because I'm such a crappy shot that I mean, I'm not going to be close to my bag limit on any species. So I think I'll be all right there. But
You're in Arkansas, so mallards are probably gonna be y'all's biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think you can get like 5 or 6 mallard. I can't remember what the bag limit is, but you can only have so many drakes to so many hens.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you see a green head with the yellow bill, you're probably in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and that's the one off where there's a lot of them that look similar, but those, I mean, that's telltale. But I mean, I guess I just need to get out there and do it, because when it comes to dove, mid flight I'd be able to tell if it was a white tip, if it was a white wing, if it was a mourning dove, if it was an Inca dove, if it was a Eurasian dove.
Yeah.
Like, I could tell all that in flight. Granted, dove, their sizes vary quite a bit. Like, the Eurasian's going to be bigger than the mourning's going to be bigger than the Inca.
Yeah.
You can't shoot Inca dove; those are considered songbirds, aren't they? So there's a dove, they vary in size. Are ducks the same way, or are they all pretty much around the same size?
Like your teal are like somewhere like that maybe. And then you have your pintails that are pretty big. Canvasbacks are pretty big. Mallards, especially up north, can be pretty damn big too. But they do vary in size. The silhouette against the sky will look different. Like a pintail, they'll kind of have like a long neck, and their tail comes to a really fine point. So they're kind of easy to point out. Also, teal, they're pretty much teal because of how small and how fast they are. They usually they're like little rockets.
Yeah.
And they stick together in some pretty good flocks too. So just kind of, and then redheads, honestly, dude, if you come to Texas, like, you're guaranteed pretty much redheads, and they're kind of dumb. Like, it's crazy. We were picking up decoys one time, and dude, they were still landing in our spread. It's just like,
while you're picking them up,
yeah,
they're like, "Wait, you're taking my girlfriend away."
Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
Like northern shovelers.
It's just like anything else. It's just the more time that you spend in the blind, and like, and like actually take time to observe and stuff, you'll pick it up pretty quick.
Yeah. So have y'all both only ever hunted on the Texas coast for duck?
I've done coast. That's why I haven't been back to the coast. I do want to get back out there this year. But I've been hunting some lakes up here in North Texas. I actually got a spot out here at a local lake, which is a raffle only spot. So I was fortunate to win that. So I've been going there. And then there's also some public land that I go to as well. And it's cool because they have different walk-in ponds you can go to. You can actually camp out there, and you can sleep and stuff, and then wake up and walk straight to the lake, and you can set up and stuff like that and hunt your ducks, which it's funny because I actually have a really, really funny story. It's more of like a heartbreak. Probably my first heartbreak of the year. I shot a wood duck out there. That thing was beautiful. And wood ducks are probably one of my favorite. I think pintail by far is my favorite. Wood ducks are just beautiful birds too, as well. So we set up, me and my buddy, the one who likes to shoot coots. We set up the night before, like, all right, we're gonna hunt this side of the lake. So we brushed it in, and then in the morning we got up. Well, it was part of daylight savings, and I for sure thought that I set my clock up correctly. But when I went to there's an outdoor annual app for Texas Parks and Wildlife, and it'll tell you the sunrise and sunset. Well, it didn't adjust for that. So I set my clock accordingly. And when I did, I was, of course, an hour late. So we woke up, and I'm like, oh, damn it. Like, the sun's already up. I'm like, dude, we're late, man. We're way too late. Like, and so we hustle out there. I'm running. I'm throwing decoys out. And he was like, oh, we're good. We're good, Papa. That's how you we're good, Papa. I'm like, no, bro, we're late. I'm telling you, get your ass in that dang stand. And so we finally get set up. And first thing that comes in the wood ducks. And I smoke one. I take him out. He hits hard. And I'm like, all right, cool. It was so late, I didn't even get time to put my waders on. So I'm just out there, and I'm out there in some dudes in basketball shorts. And I'm like, dude, whatever, man. Like, I'll get them later. So we're sitting there, and then some teal come in, and I take one of those, and they're kind of together, floating together. So I'm like, all right, let me go gather these two together. Biggest mistake I've ever done. I don't know why I didn't do it, but I didn't bring my gun with me when I went to go grab him. And when I went, and mind you, this bird's head was down. He was floating. I'm like, he's dead. And as soon as I went to go grab him, it's just like from a horror movie. Like, eye opened, like Jurassic Park, like head popped up, and he just takes off flying. And I'm like, no,
Oh
no.
man,
So I'm yelling at my buddy. I'm like,
sucks.
dude, I'm like, shoot him. I'm yelling at him. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, by the time he realized what I'm talking about, this bird's already on the other side of the lake where some other guys are, where these other guys are set up, and they smoke him and they take him out. They're cheering. I'm like, oh my God, dude, that was my bird, man. Like, I've been wanting a wood duck for so long, and that was it. And
He was probably banded too.
dude, he
Could you
was
imagine?
it was nice.
That would suck.
I would have stopped hunting. I would have stopped whatsoever right there. I would have sold everything. But no, it actually turned out for the best because it was a kid out there. He was probably like 14 or 15, and it was his first wood duck. So he was so happy. And I'm like, you know what? It's cool. You know,
Hey,
I'm
karma
glad that
come
you
back
got.
around for you.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm like, you know, at first it's that sour moment, like, God, dude, that's my bird, man. Like, I gave him to you, you know, essentially. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? This kid probably has a moment in his life now that he's going to look back and cherish. Like, I remember when I shot my first wood duck, and he might, you know, spread generations gone from there. So
Yeah,
it works out. It works out.
that freaking sucks though. Yeah,
That does suck.
I've lost a few dove that same way. Hell, I remember one time I don't remember how old I was, probably like 21, 22. And I was out at my buddy's property out there in Mahia. And one night we decided we wanted to go out bullfrog hunting and rabbit hunting. And so we're walking around his property, and it was me, my buddy Daryl, who you actually might know. I think y'all went to school together. Daryl Burrell.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then our mutual friend Russ, and so we're out there at his property in Bahia, and we're walking around his pond, and there was this bullfrog, and I shot the bullfrog, sweet, picked it up, and we're still walking around, and we come around the other side of the pond, and there's some old cedar trees there, and this freaking rabbit comes out, and so I shot the rabbit, and I was like, gun, frog, got to get this rabbit, cool. So I put the frog in my pocket. Right, just kind of shove it in there because I was wearing these carpenter pants, and yeah, so I shoved this bullfrog in my little side pocket, and I go to pick up the rabbit. When I pick up the rabbit, the freaking like the frog had been dead for 5-10 minutes, and I go to pick up the rabbit, and the frog jumps out of my damn pocket and hops straight into the pond. I'm like, the hell, where'd the frog go, And so I was kind of pissed off. I was like, man, that's some bullshit. Like, I was going to eat it. Like, dude, it was a fat bullfrog. And I was like, dude, those frog legs are going to be so good. And it hopped back in the pond, and I was so pissed off. I was like, damn it. But at least I had the rabbit. Well, that next morning I woke up, and this was when I was first learning how to fly fish. And I was still actually using that Cabela's fly rod that Jose gave me for me to learn on. And I was out there fishing for brim in that little pond. And I look down and I see that bullfrog sitting like 5 feet away from me. And I could see like the pellet holes where I had shot it. You see like flesh sticking out of the legs. I was like, that's that freaking bullfrog. And so I jumped in the pond and I grabbed it. And this was, my daughter was probably 7 at the time, and she wanted to take a picture with this bullfrog, and so I'm holding her and I'm holding the bullfrog here. I have this picture of her, and she's like leaning away terrified of this thing, but it was a massive bullfrog. But I ended up catching it, and then I was like, well, I mean, it's already the next day, we're about to leave, I'm not gonna have time to cut it up and cook it or nothing. So I released it back in the pond, and I said, it got away from me, it deserves to live. But
Yeah.
dude, I was so pissed. I was like, it was literally in my pocket and it got away. That bastard.
Pocket frog.
Now I'd like to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. First, we have Bucked Up. When you're out in the wild, whether you're stalking a trophy buck, casting for that elusive bass, or trekking through rugged terrain, you need more than just grit. You need fuel that matches your passion for the outdoors. That's where Bucked Up energy drinks and supplements come in. Crafted for those who live life on the edge, Bucked Up offers a range of products designed to enhance your performance, endurance, and recovery. From the early morning hunts to the late night fishing trips, Bucked Up has your back. Use promo code WLO20 at checkout to receive 20% off your order. Explore their full range of products by clicking on the link in the description. Next, we have Foretold Coffee Company. Start your adventure with a brew as bold as the journey ahead. Foretold Coffee Company crafts ethically sourced small batch roasts for those who find peace in the wild. Founded by Army veteran Joshua Sandoval, each cup reflects resilience, exploration, and the spirit of the outdoors. Whether it's the light Peruvian cocoa, the medium El Salvadoran bourbon, or the dark Mexican honey. Each cup is perfect for the base camp mornings or fireside evenings. Subscribe to their monthly coffee club for 10% off and stay fueled for every expedition. To learn more, visit foretoldcoffeeco.com.
Dude, this story is gonna be a little bit graphic, so I apologize. But so we were out duck hunting in Corpus Christi Bay one time, and it was a pretty slow day, man. We're just there. Not many birds were flying, and we finally had a group of redheads come in, and so we knocked maybe 2 or 3 down. And but one of them was still it was still pretty green when we got to it. So my buddy was trying to dispatch it, wring its neck, all that stuff, and he thought he had it. So we walked back to the blind, and we're just sitting there, and he has the bird on the ground, and the bird's just like, it looks dead. I thought it was dead. We all thought it was dead. And so we're just there, just chilling, waiting. No more birds were coming. And that same guy, he's like, man, I gotta go take a leak. So he walks to the other side of the little island, and dude, like, as soon as he left, that freaking bird came back to life, and it just got in the water, was like swimming away, and his head was like all leaning to one side, and it was just going. We're like, dude, what the hell? We called it the zombie bird, man. And so my buddy's like, shoot it. I was like, bro, it's 10 feet away. I'm gonna destroy that thing. So I let it get a little bit out, and then finally just dusted him. And it was good that it was done that time. My buddy was looking, he goes, dude, this is your bird. And I was like, oh, hell no, that ain't my bird. That's yours.
I don't want that one.
Man, those divers, man. Those divers can get
They're
crazy.
tough, dude.
Well, I've had plenty of birds where I've shot, and then you go get them, and then you never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone. And unfortunately, I've heard of
It's
dogs.
wild, man.
Yeah. I've heard of dogs actually dying because they're chasing birds. They get so tired from chasing divers that they'll go looking for birds and they get exhausted, and then they go out there in too deep of water, and they get so tied up in it, and sometimes they just drown, unfortunately. So they can get dangerous, and I would say definitely too. I read an article the other day of how dangerous duck hunting can be. Unfortunately, a dude in Oklahoma, he was going to retrieve a bird, and it's weird too, because once you get in that mud and that muck, you can take a step and you might go a foot, you might go 2 feet. You don't know how that bottom's going to go. But he stepped down, and I guess he went too far and got stuck. And I guess that's one thing for people going out there learning to duck hunt is be aware, and I'd say get a belt for your waders too. Make sure you have a belt so that way you're trapping that air in your feet. So that way, if you ever get in trouble, you have that air that's going to keep you up underneath your body. Because once that water gets in there, I know some of them can get pretty tough to navigate and swim in. So definitely, if you're starting
on your feet,
yep.
No, that's some solid advice. And that's another reason, I guess, because anytime you mix guns with anything, there's an extra level of danger that's added. But when you're doing something outdoors, especially when you're around the water, and duck hunting specifically, like we said earlier, like the nastier the weather, the better. Weather can take a turn. You can get hypothermia, whatever. It's always good to go like in with at least another person whenever you go out there. But dudes, going like what you're saying, duck hunting being dangerous. Have y'all heard of the Armistice Day blizzard in the 1940s that killed like 85 duck hunters or something like that?
I remember that.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, so Meat Eater covered the story. So apparently back in like the 1940s, I think it was 1940 in November, if I'm not mistaken, the fall had been relatively warm, which is great for everybody, but not great for duck hunting. But then they got word that there was a blizzard that's going to be pushing through, bringing snow, rain, dropping temperatures, all the stuff that makes duck hunting good. So all the duck hunters got super excited, man. They went out to their blinds and everything that day, and it was a warm day. I think it was like in the 40s or 50s or something like that, relatively warm, right? But this blizzard had come in from the Pacific Northwest. And when it crosses the Rockies, normally storms will tend to die, but it happened to have collided with some moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, and I think some frigid air from Canada or something. It's creating like just a perfect storm, no pun intended, of just chaos essentially. Dude, there was like it dropped the temperatures into the single digits, maybe even the negatives, It brought a bunch of snow, a bunch of sleet. There were not like massive power outages. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff happening. Winds, we're talking sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles an hour, gusts reaching up to 80. So these duck hunters were out there in the marsh. They were hunting. And then, of course, all this stuff that, I mean, the duck hunting just got intense. And during those times, the bag limits were more liberal, if you will. So they were just staying out there. It was just like wrecking shop, right? Probably the best day of duck hunting a lot of them ever had. So they just stayed out there. They weren't paying attention to the things that was going on. But eventually they started noticing that weather was getting really, really, really bad. And so a bunch of them started like leaving. Some boats capsized. I think others were able to make it back, but it was just a mess. Some by the time it got too bad, some hunters like they were just stranded. They tried to leave, but for the wind and the waves, like we're talking like 5, 6 foot swells and fresh water, like they just couldn't do it. And then it got so cold, some of the engines were just sputtering, not even turning over, so they were just stuck there. So they're like flipping over boats, trying to start fires and all that stuff, trying to get warm and everything. But dude, a lot of them didn't make it. I think there was estimates between like 50 and 85 duck hunters alone who died that day. And
Crazy.
there was a pilot. The next day he went out and he was like circling, right? He was going over trying to see if he could see any hunters, and if he saw one, he would like cut the engine. He would just do like a little flyby real low, see if they're okay, and if they were, he would drop like a canister of essentially just some provisions. They had like a sandwich, whiskey, cigarettes, all that stuff, and then he would just like circle until people on a boat were able to go and find him. He did this till the nighttime, and then he went back, refueled all that stuff, and he did it again the next day. And a lot of people were saying that dude saved his life. Something Conrad, Max Conrad, or something like that was the pilot's name. But dude, it was insane, bro. Like
That's wild.
That's freaking
insane.
nuts. That's awesome though.
Yeah.
That shout out to Mr. Conrad. Spending a day, like a whole day, and then the next day out there saving people. But dude, I don't even know what I'd do. Like in that case, like the first thing that would come to mind would be like, oh shit, like got to get out of here. And if you're stranded, like trying to make a fire, but if you're thinking about it with 40-mile-per-hour winds and waves rolling in, like dude, that would be
Everything's
tough.
wet.
Yeah, you're in a wetland because you're duck hunting, you're waterfowl hunting, so it's not like you're gonna find much dry land. Dude, that sounds like hell.
It was wild. And then, so there was that. Like, that's like probably the biggest tragedy in duck hunting history. But I read a story I don't know, it was fairly recent. I'd say probably within the last 4 years or so. I think there were these two kids, they went duck hunting, and I can't remember if one of them or both of them, they didn't come back. They died in the marsh, man. Like, they both overturned or something happened. I can't remember what.
Oh,
But dude,
yeah.
like duck hunting is like, yeah, man, duck hunting is no joke, dude. It's crazy.
There was and people get kind of pretty offensive too, like territorial with their own spots. There was a guy, a story I read recently where these two kids, they took this older dude's spot on public land, I guess his favorite spot, and got into an altercation. Well, that old man shot one of the kids, killed him, and then
Wow.
I want to say, if I can remember correctly, I think that kid shot him too. It was a mess. But yeah, stuff can
Yeah.
get crazy too. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
Jesus.
Even whenever I was doing this raffle hunt for this spot out there in this lake, so I went up there with a couple buddies, and they got 2 spots, and there's like 30 spots per this lake that you can win. And then once you win the raffle, you got to pay for it. I think it was like $200 for the year, which isn't bad compared to leases and stuff like that. But a couple of my buddies got spots, so I was like, well, I can just roll with them this year. I don't really need a spot myself. I'll give up my spot. Well, it came down to the very end, and I notified them, like, I was the very last pick. I got chosen, and I told them, like, hey, give it to somebody else. I already got a spot to go to. No big deal for me. Let somebody else win it that hasn't gone, because I saw there was a guy there with some kids, and I was like, I want to give him a fair shot at winning this, Well, he showed up a little bit late to the start, so he wasn't even entered at all. And whenever I had mentioned that, man, it was those older guys. They're probably 60, 70 years old. They were mad. They were livid. They were they were here late. And mind you, these guys have probably hunted their whole lives, and there's kids here who have just want to get started. And man, I'm telling you, they were so angry that I had to even mention that, to the point where I said, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to pay for this spot. I'll take this spot. And then as soon as I did, I turned around to those old men and I said, I'm going to give it to these kids just so you don't get to hunt this shit. And so dude, they were so mad. And he was like, well, that's not fair. I was like, I don't give a shit what you say, because it's my spot now and I get to do what I want with my spot. And I'm going to give it to these kids just to make sure that I know you're not going to hunt that. So,
yeah.
But it's crazy, man, how nasty people can get, especially on public land like that.
Yeah, man. I've heard like story like you mentioned the public blinds on the Texas coast. Yeah, dude, if it's on public waterways, it's fair game. If you're late, you're late. Like you're SOL. But I've heard of people like they'll try and lock it, like they'll put locks on them, whatever, and sometimes they'll leave like decoys set around. I know I've heard a lot of guys will do that too, and kind of like mark their territory or whatever. But I mean, dude, it's public lands, man. And I've heard that like if a guide, I've heard, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but I heard if a guide finds you in one of their blinds, like even though it's public, dude, they will lay into you. They can get pretty nasty. And I mean, I guess I can understand it because they're trying to make a livelihood or whatever, but damn, dude, like it's they're just birds at the end of the day. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. It's wild, dude. Public land in general is crazy.
Public is crazy, man. Public's definitely, I've been peppered before.
Oh yeah,
it's always a joy. It's always a new adventure. You never know where you're going to see that thing too. So,
dude, yeah,
public's funny. It's fun, but you got to be careful for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. You always want to make sure you tell somebody where you're going to be, if you're, especially if you're not going with somebody, and even if you are going with somebody, let somebody else know where you're going to be, because you never know what can happen. You can run into some yahoo out there, or storm could come in. I mean, you never know. So it's always good practice to let people know where you're going to be. Yeah. So y'all both have only ever duck hunted on marshland. So I was looking at Arkansas's, the ins and outs of duck hunting here, and I didn't realize that there was so much of a history, whether it be duck history or human history of, how things kind of propagated for Arkansas to be the duck hunting capital of the world. And so here it's not marshland, which there is some marshland, but it's man-made. But a lot of it was just lowlands with like forested wetlands and stuff like that. So a lot of the hunting areas here have a lot of hardwoods, so you'll find a lot of red oaks and white oaks and stuff, and then it's been flooded. And so before they started building all the levees and stuff in the early 1920s, they started building levees on the Mississippi River. It was just floodland, and it would like heavily flood for about a third of the year. And it's a natural way down. It's the Mississippi Flyway. So there's 4 flyways for ducks. And so there's the Eastern Flyway, which goes basically from Canada down to, I think, the Caribbean. Then there's the Mississippi Flyway, which goes from Canada in the center down almost towards to Louisiana. And then there's the Central Flyway, which is a little bit, more towards the middle of the U.S. And then there's the Western Flyway, which is the same thing from Alaska down to Mexico. And so in the middle of the Mississippi Flyway, it's the Mississippi, River drainage area, and I think it's like 1.5 million square miles or something like that, which I didn't know that it's third to like only the Nile and the Amazon. So I was like, wait, that's freaking crazy to, a comparison of the Mississippi River here in comparison to that. But it's basically like this geological, funnel for all the birds to come in, and the mallards particularly like it here. So when you said that Arkansas is more for mallards, I was like, yeah, I read that. So I just thought it was pretty cool that how all that came to. And then what they started doing is they started clear cutting these trees, because you have nothing but, bottomlands with nothing but hardwoods. Like you can't do anything there. There's no agriculture there. You can't build there. So they started clear cutting all this stuff. And then people started realizing like that's perfect land, floodland, to where if you build a levee, you can keep it flooded and grow rice there. And so in the summer times when they're growing rice, the ducks just absolutely love it. Mm. And so since it's right in the middle of that Mississippi Flyway, like I guess that's how it started becoming, which the ducks would always be here, but then they started making it a little better. So there's more agriculture, and then there's more ducks coming in for that reason. And I was like, huh. So I was finding out a little bit more about that, growing grains and rice. And there's the White River, the Black River, the St. Francis River, and the Mississippi River are all kind of in that area. So there's a lot of water that comes into it. And so the ducks just absolutely freaking love it here. In the 1940s, I guess, when people started clear cutting all that property, then there was like little pockets of just hardwoods that nobody could do anything with. And so Arkansas Game and Fish started going out and actually trying to buy this property, and they were buying it for extremely cheap because nobody could do anything with it. And then as years have progressed, all those other areas that were clear cut have been built up, and there's all sorts of stuff, you know, being built there, and it's being used for other agricultural purposes. So now these spots that are, you know, multi-million-dollar properties that everybody would want, they just got super cheap in the 40s, and so now they're like, you know, around the Stuttgart area and stuff like that. So I think maybe when I try to go out for my first time, I might try to find somebody that has actually hunted in the area before and try to go out and, you know, learn some tips and tricks. But I think most likely that Delta area is probably going to be the place that I go, because it's, you know, closer to me than going down to the Texas coast. But I'm excited to try to figure it out over there.
Absolutely.
Dude, a timber stand hunt is one of my like lifetime hunts that I want to experience, man.
Same. It's a dream right there.
We should make it
Yeah,
happen.
dude.
We'll do
Hell
we'll
yeah.
do that for sure. We got to make that happen. I got some guys.
I'll try to get some tips and tricks and people that have done it up here, and I'll invite y'all up, and we got to go.
Yeah, dude, that's the honey hole out there. The whole thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
funny. It's funny too because so I think it was opening day out here, and I'm blowing my duck call, and it's just sticking, man. It's sticking. It's not working right. I sound like an idiot, and I'm like, what's going on? And my friends are laughing at me, like, dude, you suck. Just put that thing down. So it's bad, and I'm even questioning myself. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with me? Like, I sound like a dying duck out here. Like, it's horrible. So
He
I
got
go online.
bronchitis.
Yeah, they got the bronchitis. So so I go online and I'm looking at reeds so I can replace the reeds inside this call. And I remember I sent it to my wife. I was like, hey, can you? Because I'll just send her stuff like, hey, can you order this for me? Like, I don't know, I just do it that way. I don't even shop anymore. Just like, just buy this for me. You're the pro at this. Amazon, you know, queen. So you do this for me. So I sent it to her and she bought it for me. And I remember it came in, and it's funny because she'll look at the card too, like our finances and stuff. It, you know, we'll go through it and she'll look at it and she's like, Max wings. Did you go get wings without me? Because that's like our thing, right? Like we just love getting wings. So our first date was at Pluckers, right? So that's always our big thing. Like whenever people think about going on dates, like you don't go to Texas Roadhouse. Like no, we're going to Pluckers. That's a date night for us, you know, for sure. So when she saw Max Prairie Wings, that's where I got my reeds from. That's, you know, the staple out there in Stuttgart. She's like, you went and got wings without me? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you went to Max Wings. I was like, no, that's the duck hunting. That's where you bought the reeds for me. And she's like, oh, she's like, I was about to get so mad at you that you went and got wings without me.
Dude, that's hilarious.
So of all the wings places, what's your favorite? So in your area, you got what? Pluckers, you got Wingstop. Is there that wing place still over there by Casa Garcia's by the HEB? Is that place still there?
There's a wing place there?
Yeah.
Trying to think
Because
what's
there's
down
the
there.
Subway on the same side as HEB, right? On the same strip.
Yeah.
And then directly across
Yeah,
from
yeah.
that Subway is where the Casa Garcia's was. And then there's like the
Mhm.
Taekwondo dojo. There was a wing place there when I lived there. I don't remember what it was called. To me, it wasn't very good, so it might not even be open anymore. But what is your favorite wing place, Chris?
Man, I gotta say Pluckers, man. I gotta say, which well, Pluckers for sure on the daily, right?
Mhm.
I can't do Buffalo Wild Wings. Like their buffalo sauce to me just tastes like dye. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
even taste like buffalo, I guess. But
Mhm.
it's funny because there's this one place in Virginia when I was out there for school, for the Navy, and it's called Peck and Pour. Well, what they do is they bake the wings first, got them to their temp, and then they fried them. So like those were probably the best wings I've ever had. But when
Really?
it comes down to, yeah, they were amazing. Like, you got the crisp, you got the flavor, everything was on point. But I would say for everything, definitely Pluckers, for sure.
What about you,
Spicy
Jose?
lemon pepper.
Dude, spicy lemon pepper is probably one of my favorite. That and Gold Rush.
Yep, go. That's my go for
I
Gold.
love the
Uh,
Gold Rush. Gold Rush and the Dr.
Gold
Pepper
Rush
ones
so
are pretty
good,
good.
dude. I don't think I've ever tried Dr. Pepper.
They're pretty good. I think Gold Rush is my favorite from Pluckers, though.
Man, I haven't been to Pluckers in a long time. I do like Pluckers wings, but I gotta tell you, man, I think right now my favorite wing joint is probably Twin Peaks. They got some killer wings, dude. The
I've never
spicy
gotten
Thai
the wings
chili,
from Twin
Yeah,
Peaks.
you
bro, so good.
Huh.
Yeah, the spicy. If you got it, dude, and they're massive, bro. The drums and the wings they're huge. So like you get a good portion, you get a lot of meat. The sauces and everything they're on point. The spicy Thai chili is my favorite.
That's always
It's
a
so
pet
good,
peeve for
man.
me whenever you go to a wing spot and they got the little tiny, like, little dove wings. You're like, bro, what is this?
Yeah, dude. No, man, you don't get that at Twin Peaks. I used to not like going to Twin Peaks only for the beer because they're always cold. But dude, those wings are actually really damn good. Those are my favorite wings, I think.
Every
right
time
now.
I go to Twin Peaks, I get the loaded nachos. They're so freaking good.
You got to try the wings, bro.
I think my favorite wings, y'all gonna hate me for this. It's probably Wingstop.
Wingstop? I don't know, man.
Dude, I don't know what
Wingstop
it is.
dude.
I love Wingstop's wings. Well, okay,
Bro,
let
they're
me
trash.
I like the lemon
Sorry.
pepper. The lemon
let
pepper,
me
though.
explain. Their lemon
The
pepper's okay.
fries, I think what pisses me off about Wingstop, the fries. They suck.
Yeah, their fries aren't that
They're
good.
super soggy
Yeah.
and salty. They're just terrible, man.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna say another unpopular opinion here. I prefer boneless, right? I like chicken nuggies. Mainly
Great
because
nuggies.
I just get a fork, I get those chicken nuggies. And so the honey barbecue chicken nuggies and the mango habanero boneless wings from Wingstop are so good. With that being said, I'm not the biggest fan of their bone-in wings. And so if I am opting for bone-in wings, it's either going to be Pluckers or it's going to be Buffalo Wild Wings. But for simplicity, especially if I'm going to be eating on the road, because I'm on the road so freaking much, and on Mondays and Tuesdays, 70-cent boneless wings, that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to stop and get me 30 wings, get a fork, and just eat them on the road. So I think it's more of a simplicity thing for me. So yeah, I think Wingstop and then Pluckers, then Buffalo Wild Wings. But if I'm going for bone-in, it's going to be Pluckers or Buffalo Wild Wings, which sucks because we don't have Pluckers here in Arkansas. And I had a Buffalo Wild Wings 2 minutes from where I live, and it closed down. And so the nearest one is almost an hour away now.
Dude, in College Station, we have this place called Wings and More. There's several locations. Some are better than others.
I want to say that's what the one in Kyle was that I was talking about.
Oh, if they went out of business, because I haven't seen them. But, dude, I went there one day for lunch, and the wings pissed me off so much because they were disgusting. They were bad. I was so disappointed when I got home from work. I went to H-E-B, bought my own damn wings, and I cooked them myself because I wanted wings so bad. But dude, they were terrible, bro. At least at that one location, because I went to a different location with some friends, and their wings were a lot better that time. But dude, I was irate. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" They wasn't cheap. Wings are not cheap. But dude, they pissed me off. On the upside, I learned how to cook wings after that, so it was a learning experience. That was the first time I cooked wings. I was so mad I went out and cooked my own damn wings for the first time.
Those were coot wings.
But, probably. I should have ate the plant.
That's why they give you the celery.
Oh, dude, I can't stand celery.
Neither can I, man. I can't either.
Dude, I'm not a picky person. Like there's very few things that I won't try or won't eat. Celery is one of the things that I won't eat. I don't know what it is about it. People tell me it doesn't taste like anything, but to me it has a very particular taste, and I'm not fond of it at all. I do not like it.
I don't either.
To me, it's a very mild green. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Green. It's a green taste. It's like a very mild grass flavor.
It's passive,
but I like it.
It's passive aggressive grass. That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. But hey, you throw some peanut
Yeah.
butter on it, maybe some raisins, make a little cute boat, you know?
The ones I eat are too aggressive. They need to be more passive, man. They're
It's
nasty.
like
I like celery.
if LaCroix was a plant or a vegetable, it'd be celery.
Oh, dude, I can't stand LaCroix. Dude, I remember the first time I had LaCroix, I was working for AT&T in Austin at the time, and this was in the dead of summer. It was like 110 degrees, and back when they first started doing fiber optics in Austin, they engineered it. Like now I am a fiber optic engineer, so I can say this out of experience. The way that they engineered it was shit. And so you would be running a drop to hook up a customer that would be 1,800 feet sometimes. And I remember I was over in Westlake area running this fiber drop, and it was hot as hell that day. I'd already been busting my ass. I think I got to that job at like 2 p.m. It took me a few hours. Finally get the drop to the house, and I'm wrapping it underneath the house. And it was like a split level house, and so they had a balcony, and I was running it underneath it. And there's a wasp nest that I didn't see under one of the rafters, and I was stapling the drop, or actually it was the home run going around underneath the deck, and those wasps just lit me up on the back of my head. So I was already hot as hell, dehydrated, and then I got lit up by freaking red wasp, and it was just not a good day. And so I had this bad headache, and I just don't feel good. And I get everything inside, and then the customer was like, "Hey, do you want a LaCroix?" And I was like, "I've never had one, sure." And you know, the can's all, colorful and everything. Yeah. And dude, I put this thing in my mouth, and it took everything in me not to spit it out. It tasted and felt like I just licked an old tube TV. Freaking static on my tongue. Tasted horrible. I was like, these people are trying to poison me. That shit was so disgusting. I cannot stand LaCroix.
Carbonated water took a long time for me to warm up to.
I can drink
I can drink a Topo Chico fine now. It don't bother me. I can drink a LaCroix. It don't bother me. But it took me for the longest time, man. I couldn't do it. I don't know what it was about it. I just couldn't do it. I didn't like the way the carbonation felt in my mouth, I guess. Yeah. It was just weird. I would not touch them, but now they don't bother me.
I can't do seltzers either.
Went from drinking water hoses as kids, and now we can't drink carbonated water.
Dude, even to this day, I'll still take a freaking dirty ass water hose water over a carbonated water.
Bro, but don't you remember those days when you were a kid playing football in the yard? That water hose water just hit.
Yeah, dude, you got to make sure it was cold first, though, because that first hot gets you, and it. Yeah, you're done for.
You gotta let it run.
You're done, so.
Yep. And I miss drinking out of the water hose. Simpler times. I
get looks from my neighbors when I do it now.
Right. I found that wing place I was talking about. It's still open. It's called Wicked Wings.
Huh.
Right there next to
Wicked Wings.
It's not that great.
Never tried their stuff.
Yeah, it's not that great. I'm surprised they're still open, to be honest. But I know that there was a lot of people. They had a lot of good beer specials. I think at one point they had like 50-cent dose, or like $1. It was like $1 dose Tuesdays or something like that. And so people go in for it. I mean, hell, I'd go in.
I wonder how big you can get with getting it with the wing. Like for instance, like a crane wing. If someone's ever made a giant fried crane wing.
That would be really good.
I'd be down to try it.
Yeah.
I would be too.
I imagine they'd be really lean though. Those things they fly a long ways. Probably pretty tough too.
I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting though. Or just something different like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd try it.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah. Maybe like an exotic.
So sounds like we need to go get some ribeye of the sky and try it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Dude, that's another hunt. That's another hunt that I really want to go on and experience one day. Just going to Sandhill crane hunt in the Panhandle of Texas.
It's different, man. I was fortunate, so I had won a hunt. I was lucky enough to get picked for a hunt from Cover 6 Outdoors. They're a nonprofit that they take vets out and stuff like that. So I went out with them for the opener of teal season out in the mallard management, which is Zone A out there out west. So they do it a week before the veterans of my zone, which is essentially 2 weeks before opening day. So we went out there. We shot a couple birds. But I went out there with Flatland Outfitters, really good guys. Wes and Mav took care of us. And actually, I do want to kind of give a real quick, if we can, just a real a prayer for y'all out there listening to. So one of their owners, was involved in a head-on car accident, and he's slowly making it. But for sure, if y'all can keep him in y'all's prayers, for sure. I know those guys are, taking it. It's rough. That's one of their best friends and stuff like that, and coworkers. They go out to grind and stuff like that. So definitely, if y'all can, just keep them in your prayers for sure. But yeah, those guys, they took care of us. They actually had us come back out as a revenge tour to go and shoot some crane. And those birds are so weird. They're just like ducks. Like they may be one place in one day, and then the next day they're gone. And it just depends where they want to eat. But I tell you, I went out there last week with one of my other buddies, Ben Wooster with Shin Deep Outfitters, out in Abilene. And when you're in those layout blinds, and all you have is a mesh right in your face, and you're kind of wrapped up, and you're laying, on your back, and you just see the sky, and you can just hear them. You can hear they're screaming, and something about out there in West Texas in that area, it's like that sky is just so clear that these birds can be 50 to 100 yards away from you, but it sounds like they're right on top of you, just how loud they are and constant. And you'll see them too. They're flying over you, and they tell you, just lay down and be still, and we'll let you know. We'll call the shot. But it's definitely a fun thing to do for sure. Highly recommend it if you haven't done it.
So what's the process of that? Is it saying so are you waiting for them to land like you would for a duck, or do you sky blast them, or you have to wait till they're just above you? Like, how do you even go about hunting for a sandhill?
Kind of the same thing like a duck. So like you get there, we help set up. You'll put your decoys out. Same thing. You can probably put some geese out there as well, because you'll get speckled bellies that run out as well. But you set it all up. Same thing. You'll call just like a duck, and they'll come in. They'll try to land too, and that's when you'll kind of take them. But they'll circle. They'll do the same thing as a duck does. They'll circle around, try to do a couple passes, and then they'll finally commit. It's kind of crazy though. What they'll do is they have some juveniles that they'll send first. It was almost like trials. Like, hey,
really,
go check out this place and see if it's good to eat. So they'll send the juveniles. The juveniles will come in first in the spread, and then as soon as they kind of give the okay to the rest of them, then the big birds and the more mature ones come after them. So they're like
that's crazy.
They're like their drones, man. Yeah, like go down there and check it out, see if we're good. So,
dude, could you imagine sending your kids in somewhere that you don't know is safe?
Hey, go check this out.
Screwed. Dude, I couldn't even imagine. Oh, my kids would probably kick my ass if I did that, though. My kids are taking fireballs.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Dude, what do the decoys look like? Because I've heard that they're so smart. Sometimes you have to use essentially what are like stuffed sandhills. They need like the feather and the movement and all that stuff. They need a realistic decoy.
Oh yeah, these things are like legit. They're same height. There's same structure. Everything paints matched, like very detailed to the T. But yeah, they're smart birds too. If they don't like something, they'll flare. And that's kind of what we were seeing too. Like you try to get out and see what's going out there, what they see, and it's hard because, like I said, if they don't like something, they're not gonna commit. But it's wild though, because when you do shoot one, that's when the dogs have the goggles on their eyes, because they'll fight those birds, and those birds will try to. That's the first thing they go for a dog, is they'll try to poke their eye. But you'll see, the guys go out there and they got baseball bats, and that's how they, instead of wringing their neck, now they're hitting dingers with these birds.
Dude, that's freaking nuts.
Dude,
yeah.
there's a grass in Kingsville. When she was there, she was working on a crane project. And so I can't remember. I think she said they had like these like net guns. So they'd get them in and they'd shoot the net guns, and they have to go and like get them out of the net. She's like, dude, you got to be careful, man, because those things, like their beaks are super sharp.
Yeah.
Like the first thing they go for is the eyes. So like you have to, a lot of them wear safety like goggles or glasses, whatever. And then they have these massive feet, dude. They all, like when they come back from field work, they're all scratched to shit. Dude, these things are gnarly.
Yeah, those things are super sharp. And even the juveniles too. Those things are massive. Their wingspans are crazy, you know, and they call them big old pterodactyls. But yeah, no doubt, they're crazy.
That's insane. Yeah, I saw the picture that I think you posted holding one up, and I was
Yeah.
like, God, a freaking wingspan on that thing is like 6 feet.
And that was the juvenile. That was a little dude. They get
Wow.
bigger than that.
That's crazy.
What does your like setup look for cranes versus ducks?
So ducks, I'm usually running like number 4 for ducks. Crane number 2. Some people run BB. It just depends on what you want to shoot. But I was shooting
3-inch, 3.5-inch.
Yeah, it's usually 3.5 or 3. I think I was shooting an improved modified of mine. You know, but some guys get better chokes and stuff like that for sure. But yeah, number 2 or BB, what you're solid with, which is actually a funny thing too. Going back to the BB, so that duck hunt I talked about with these birds on the wall out there in Corsicana. I remember I was still kind of fresh. And when I went to the store to pick up some rounds, when I figured out I won that hunt, I grabbed 2 boxes of number 4, and I guess there was a BB next to it. So I grabbed that BB on accident, and I didn't realize it. So after I went through those boxes, I grabbed that BB, and here I am trying to shoot birds. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Until I realized, like, dude, I'm shooting freaking cannonballs at these things. Like, no wonder I'm missing. But yeah, those BBs are good for, of course, like goose and crane and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different variants. I mean, because you can duck hunt down here. Like, I got a buddy in Connecticut hunting like sea ducks and like eiders and squaws and stuff. And there's a YouTube video of a guy who goes out and shoots every single type of duck. And he goes around like the country, Alaska to the coast and different countries to shoot every duck. But same thing with waterfowl, because you can do like crane, geese. There's even one where you can shoot a trumpeter swan where their wingspans are like 20 feet. They're massive. So it gets crazy. There's a lot of
nuts
different categories and stuff.
So when you're shooting down there, you still have to use steel shot, right? Or non-toxic shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're by water, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Steel or bismuth or tungsten or something like that.
Yeah.
But that stuff, dude, gets expensive.
It does.
Dude, it does.
It does.
It does. So when I went dove hunting in the first season this year, early season, at the WMA, it was near a watershed, so you had to use non-toxic. And I've always just used, regular shot and a lead shot. And so I went into the Sportsman's Warehouse that's open here, and I was looking around. I was like, why is it so much more expensive? And then I was looking, and so normally I use like a 6 shot for dove and or an 8 shot, and then in steel shot they only had, I think, 6 shot in steel for dove. And I was just like, man, I don't really want to shoot that. And then I was looking at the price. I was like, this freaking sucks.
Yeah.
But it was still an hour and 45-minute drive to the closest WMA for dove hunting here, and it was in a freaking watershed. And I was like, damn. So I ended up having to get it.
It's kind of weird how they size steel shot versus lead. Generally speaking, like your steel shot, like a size 6 steel shot, will be roughly equivalent to a number 8 lead shot.
I see.
So there's
that makes sense.
There's like a 2 number difference. So like a number 4 shot in steel will be roughly equivalent to number 6 in lead, and such and so forth.
I
So
see.
like so for dove, like sometimes you go to the store, you see some dove loads that are steel, and the smallest you'll see is like 6, but that's like a size 8.
I see.
But yeah, it's weird how they do that. I don't know why they don't. It's not like a standard thing, but
Right.
yeah, it's interesting.
Well, that would make sense because, I was looking, I was like, God, I want an 8 shot, and I couldn't find it. And then I went and asked the guy, and the guy was not very knowledgeable on ammunition. And he's like, man, I couldn't tell you honestly. He said, that's just what we have is what's out there, which is weird because they got so much ammo there. But now that would make sense.
And then now they got all kinds of like weird stuff, man. Like Winchester had the, I think it was the blind side with like little cubes, and they're just kind of stacked within the shell or something like that. And they're and then like they do like weird things with the wad where it'll stay with the shot longer, so you can shoot further out and stuff, which is kind of iffy because I think that might encourage more sky blasting.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just something I think, but yeah, man, like the ammunition stuff gets pretty pretty interesting. A lot of companies are trying some new things, and they have like a. I've seen like I forget what they're called, but they're essentially like a combination load where you have like some twos mixed in with some fours,
Yeah.
so you get some
Yep,
bigger
I've seen
shots,
that.
some smaller shot, and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I bet that would be good for, like a one size fits all kind of application. Like if you're going to go hunting somewhere and there's going to be multiple species that are in season, like see how that'd be a good
Hmm.
thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
But
because you can switch on the die too. Because you might have
Hmm.
like you might have some ducks come in and you hear some Canada's come in. You're like, oh dang, let me switch to a 3.5 real quick.
Oh man, but you got to be careful, dude. Like I was hunting with a buddy one time, and we were out there in the blind, and it was still kind of dark, right? But the birds were, I mean, like it was just sunrise, so the sun was just coming up, and the birds were just flying everywhere. So you just hear ka 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 ka, and my buddy unloaded his gun, and he's just like reaching blindly into the bag, throwing rounds into his gun, and then we hear a boom, and then we hear another boom, and then we hear a boom, like one was noticeably louder. And we looked at him and he looked at us. He goes, "Holy shit, I think that was a slug."
dude, could you imagine if he hit a duck with a slug?
Dude. And yeah, and here's another piece of advice for anybody going out there. Game wardens can be sticklers about this stuff. Make sure you have no lead whatsoever. Doesn't matter if it's buckshot, don't matter if it's a slug. Make sure there are no lead shots in your duck bag at all. You can get ticketed real
I actually
quick.
got caught up with that
Did you?
last year, the very last day of duck hunting. So I like to take a bucket with me. I used to take a bucket with me, right? And it had the seat lid on top, the little cushion. But I just carry all my rounds, whether it's duck shot, whether it was, I had some slugs in there too, and I didn't have no buckshot. It was just slugs or bird shot as far as ducks. But I like to take it with me, right? I did, because when you go out on public land and stuff like that, people like to trash it out, and they leave everything. They leave all their trash. They leave,
Mhm.
drinks and all their shells. So I would use it as a trash can for me to pick up while I'm there. Well, that exact same thing happened to me, where my chuck was good. He checked on my ammo, but when he checked my bucket, he was like, "Sorry, buddy, you can't have lead with you." I'm like, "Are you serious, man? This is a freaking lead shot. This is a freaking slug, man. Like, you think I'm gonna be shooting slug at these birds?" And he's like, "It is what it is. You can't have lead on your person when you're waterfowl hunting." So I learned my lesson. I will never take that bucket out again with me.
God, that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
That blows.
And he came at
Did,
the
did,
worst
did you get a
time
ticket, or
too.
was it was
did.
it a warning?
Nope, I got a ticket, and he came at the absolute worst
Oh,
time.
damn it.
He came like right at 7:38. So birds were flying by this dude's head as he's talking to me. I'm just like, "Come on, man, you're killing me right now." Birds are flying in my
Sometimes it feels
spread.
like they do that on purpose.
They do, for sure. They pick the absolute worst times, and you're like, "Come on, bro. Like, you can just wait for me at the truck."
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
my
but it makes
buddy.
sense.
I think my buddy started carrying slugs because there was one time we were duck hunting out in Port A, and we got there super late, dude. I mean, it was already sunrise. We knew we were late. We're like, well, we're already here. Let's just try. We never know. And we pull up to this blind, and dude, there's a raft of, I don't know, at least 100 pintail just chilling. And we're like, holy shit. So we're throwing our decoys out. We're pretty sure they weren't going to come near us, but there's always a chance, right? So we're just there waiting, watching them. Eventually, they did get up off the water, and they did not get anywhere near us. We're like, damn. So we're just sitting there chilling we're just chilling in the blind, man. And then my buddy stands up, and he looks across the bay, and he's like, holy shit. And he's a notorious, like, bullshitter. And we're like, what's going on? He goes, dude, you won't believe this, but there's a massive hog coming over. We're like, no way, dude. So we stand up, and bro, this thing was a tank. It was at least 300 pounds. And it was just going right towards us. So we kind of sit down in the blinds, wait till it gets closer, and then we popped our head up. And at this point, it was maybe like 30 yards from us. And dude, this thing passed between us and where we had parked the john boat, and the john boat disappeared. This thing was massive.
Good
One of the
Lord.
biggest pigs I've ever seen in my life. Dude, it was huge. And so we tried to get down and chase it. We only had bird shot, right? But our steel shot. We tried to chase it, couldn't find it. A little bit later, there's a group of like, I don't know, 8 smaller pigs, and they're coming right at us. And so we did get a couple shots off, and we drew a little bit of blood, but we have no idea where they went. We chased them. We're chasing the blood, seeing if we can find them, and they actually led us to a group of redheads that we kind of like jumped, and we were able to at least get 2 or 3 birds from that flock. So it wasn't totally empty-handed. Never did find the pig, but ever since that day, I think my buddy was carrying. He would keep slugs in his bag, and that's how one got snuck into his chamber during that little
Little
fiasco in the morning.
there.
It was crazy,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that was wild.
That's freaking
It
nuts.
happens.
I mean, it makes sense. Like I can see why you'd want to have slugs, but I mean, at the same
But you
time, it's
can't.
toxic and you're in a waterway, so I get it.
Yeah.
Yep. No lead, man. 0 lead.
So what
Lead-free
happens
zone.
if you have like a sidearm or something? Like, are you not allowed to have a sidearm for protection?
That's a good question. I
Now
don't know.
you can when you're like on public for sure. Because I've asked the warden that, and he's like, "Yeah, you can have a sidearm with you, just for, special purposes." But I've always kind of
Yeah.
questioned that too with lead, because I mean, most of your fishing weights are lead, and you're
Yeah.
tossing that in the
Mhm.
water. So why can't you throw some?
Mhm.
What happens if some shot accidentally falls in there?
Yeah. Well, I
But I
mean,
guess it's a
a lot of
double-edged
the
sword.
shot is gonna be going there regardless, and it's gonna stay there.
Yeah.
And there's
Right.
not as many people losing their weights. So I guess I get that,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
I
true.
mean,
But I think there were some reports like, so back in the day, people could hunt with lead shot. But the thing is, like, if there was a duck that got hit and it flew off, it would succumb to like lead poisoning
Uh-huh.
or its injuries, whatever. And then a predatory bird, like a buzzard or
I
whatever,
see.
would come and eat that, and it would get sick from lead poisoning, and it would die. It was just like a cascading thing. So
Yeah,
in order to kind of reduce, those kind of fatalities, they try to incorporate this non-toxic shot or whatever, which
I
I
see.
think should probably make its way into fishing, because I've questioned that too. It doesn't make sense to me.
yeah.
But
just as long as they're not doing it
yeah,
for
I don't
dub, we're
know.
good.
Hell, I mean, you look at a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
guess.
weights for like fly tying and stuff, beads, they're like tungsten and stuff, so they're not even,
Mhm.
a lot of them aren't lead. So, I mean, fly fishing kind of seems to have a little bit less lead than conventional.
It might just be a cost thing, man, because lead is very cheap compared to like copper or any of these other non-toxic metals that they use to produce ammunition, stuff like that. Bismuth, tungsten, all that stuff is crazy expensive, and sometimes they come in like a 10-round box for like $50. It's like, what the hell, man? It's insane. And yeah, and then with rifle hunting, I know a lot of people, especially here now, they're trying to go more towards like copper, but it's still pretty expensive compared to lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound as cool. I mean, when you say you're going to pump some lead through somebody, it just sounds cool.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Just something about the sound of hot lead.
As long as it's not in my paint, good.
Right. Ain't that the truth? Lead paint and asbestos. Let's go back to the 70s and give everybody cancer, right?
Let me pump some asbestos in this bird right quick.
Dude, asbestos was the freaking wonder material, though.
It was,
Heat
man.
resistant, strong as hell, had tensile strength. Shit.
But causes
I
cancer.
watched the video today. They were talking about it.
Really?
Yeah, the dude was like, I guess he was talking about, the video was about cooking indoors versus outdoors, of how basically men are supposed to cook outdoors. It gets them back to their, the roots of,
Neanderthal
the
roots.
primal.
yeah, exactly, primal roots. And so the guy's like, I'm getting back to my primal roots. And then he's like, well, can you hand me my asbestos gloves there, Jimmy? He's like, what do you need those for? He's like, so I don't burn my hands, of course.
Dude, lately I've been wanting, I've been watching that show Alone lately, and it's just making me want to get out and do some freaking bushcraft and stuff. Like, get out there and just cook outside and, harvest something and cook it, which actually I filmed a catch and cook over at the dam here in Hot Springs. Haven't done anything with the video yet. I have the footage saved on the computer, but I've just been wanting to do that, just like get out there and cook. And then I'll see these little shorts on Instagram Reels and whatnot of, guys that have a freaking tomahawk of, an elk that they just got and cooking it on a freaking stone over a fire.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that stuff just looks so fun.
We did that. We tried to do that one time when I was in sub school in Connecticut. Like, me and 3 of my buddies were like, man, we're not going out with anything. All we have is a bottle of whiskey. We're going to go camp out, and we're only going to cook what we catch. And we fished all day. It didn't catch shit. So needless to say, the next day we walked out hungry and hungover.
Hey, but you got some stories, don't you?
Yeah.
Dude, a buddy of mine and I, we were going to try and do that on the Guadalupe River because they stock it with trout, and there's certain parts of it where you can keep it. And we're like, dude, we're going to go, we're going to catch some trout, we're going to make her, eat some dinner, all that stuff. We had this all planned out. Dude, we didn't catch shit either. So we went to Buc-ee's and we got some cans of soup, and that was our dinner for the night.
Damn,
Dude,
that's why I always take dehydrated meals if I'm going to do something like that, because you never know. Like, I mean, you just might not catch anything. You might not kill nothing that day. So I always try to take something. Dude, ever since I've had those Peak refuel mules, dude, those things are so freaking good. Have either of y'all had them yet?
No, I think I have some in the garage. I have them in my, container bag, like the go bag.
Dude, honestly, I would eat that over a lot of fast food. Like, dude, they're so freaking good. Yeah, like I got the bison and ranch mashers one. It's like mashed potatoes with peas and bison and ranch seasoning. Oh, dude, it's so good. The freaking peach cobbler's really good. The berry oatmeal's good. The brownie bites are good, dude. Like, all that stuff is so freaking good. Like, I've never had dehydrated meals that are so good.
It sounds like money.
I don't know if I've ever had a dehydrated meal.
We used to go get MREs from the Army Surplus store there. What's it called? Banana Bay over there in Austin. I think 51st maybe. We used to go get some old MREs from there, and we'd eat those. But, I mean, hell, MREs are ain't nothing good in those except for that freaking orange tang and the chocolate.
It was crazy. I've never had an MRE before.
Really?
Even being in the military, man, not even one.
They're not. I mean, they'll get you by. Their bread's like crackers, and actually, I'll give you the peanut butter's good. The orange tang, the orange drink that comes with it, it's basically tang. It's a little bit more bitter though. It's really good. Their chocolate
Tang. I forgot
Dude,
about
Tang,
wasn't it? Yep.
Tang was a shit. Yeah, dude.
I remember it was like a battle of Tang and was it Sunny D commercials?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Do they even make Tang
I don't
anymore?
know.
No.
I think it's powder only.
I haven't seen that stuff in years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Dude, that shit was awesome.
probably had like lead in it too or something.
Right. That's what made it taste so good.
Yeah.
With the side of asbestos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, I miss stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why we're all fucked
It was
up.
all ADHD and anxiety.
We would drink Tang out of hose water.
Yeah. That's how you mix it. You got some Tang powder with some garden hose water. There you go, baby.
Oh, the drink of champions.
Bring
for
all the
Iron.
chism.
There was this rumor going around that when I was little, I had tism, and they said I beat it. Freaking love Theo Von, man.
Dude, I saw that guy on concert once, like in live.
Dude,
Oh
you told me
God,
about that.
shit
That's
was so
freaking
funny.
awesome.
Bro. It was awesome, man. He was hilarious.
Dude, we had Tom Segura up here,
Highly
like
recommend.
5 minutes from where I live, on the 8th of December. I wasn't able to make it, but I wanted to so bad. I love Tom Segura.
I want to see Shane Gillis. That dude's
Dude, that
funny.
dude cracks me up. I like his impersonations.
Yeah,
He does a spot-on Trump impersonation.
dude, it's really good.
Did you see the one that he did where
Really
he was
good.
talking about Trump and Biden, and he like did a impersonation of them both
Oh yeah, like
back and forth?
they're like
Dude,
yeah.
it's freaking
I think I've seen
hilarious.
that one,
Dude,
yeah.
that was funny.
Dude, have we really been on this for almost an hour and a half?
Flying, man.
Dude, I feel like we just got on. That's
Flying.
crazy. Well, I guess that means that it's a good time to go ahead and end it out.
Hold on. I'm gonna tell one more story. I think you might like
Yeah.
this, Chris. So, a lot of stuff happens in the duck blind, all right? But there's this one time we're out there. I'm gonna keep. I think I told you this, Russell. So I'm gonna keep names. I'm not gonna say names just for anonymity reasons. But it was a super slow day. We were just there chilling. I have a friend who would occasionally, well, he would keep a coyote call on his duck call lanyard for whatever reason. And and so we're all there, and there weren't any ducks flying. So he just starts wailing on this coyote call. And I have a friend. I don't. He doesn't do it on purpose, but he kind of has like this. He does like this little pigeon head bob thing, and from time to time, and so my buddy was wailing on this coyote call, and he does this little pigeon head bob, and he kind of looks at him. He goes, "What kind of duck call is that?" My buddy's like, "Oh, dude, this is for the young ducks, like the best eating ducks. You blow this when you want them." He goes, "Oh man, that's pretty cool." And we're all just like trying not to lose our shit, dude. We're just there, and we're just trying so hard not to laugh. And he starts looking, and he's doing his little head bob and looking at us. He goes, "Wait a second, that's not a duck call, is it?" He was like, "No, that's a coyote call." He is this friend of mine, man. He is one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life. But God bless him. He's a little what's the word I'm looking for? Gullible. There you go.
That's freaking hilarious. So it was a distress call.
I don't know what it was. It was just some
Probably like a
coyote call
rabbit
that
or
he had on his
something.
lanyard because he's
Yeah.
yeah he had seen some coyotes in the flats, and so he would just keep it on his lanyard, and then he was just welling on that thing. What kind of duck call is that?
Come here, your duck.
Dude, have you made
Oh, man.
any lanyards lately? Because you used to make them out of paracord, right?
Yeah, he used to, man. I actually, you remember my friend
Mm-hmm.
Sam and her husband
Mm-hmm.
Thomas? I still, I still owe Thomas a duck call lanyard. I haven't made one in years, man. I owe Canoe one
Dude,
too.
you used to make some sick ones.
I used to make duck call lanyards. I used to make game totes for
Oh,
doves
nice.
and ducks out of paracord too. I haven't made one in ages. I need to do that. I need to make them for Thomas and for Canoe. Canoe's been slaying some ducks down south too. I don't know if you've been seeing
Yeah, dude,
his
it's
stuff,
been
but
nuts.
they've been
Slaying them.
he's been stacking them up. Dude, that guy, man, one time in one hunt, if I'm not mistaken, Canoe, I'm sorry if I'm lying, he shot a cinnamon teal, a blue-winged teal, and a green-winged teal. All drakes,
Oh,
all in
wow.
the same hunt.
That's crazy.
Those cinnamons, man. I want one so bad. I actually want to do a Mexico hunt just to go down there and slay, man. Those things are duck hunts and dove hunts too. That's totally an experience.
Yeah. Dude, I want to go to Argentina and do some dove hunting out
Dude,
there.
Yeah.
for real.
Pro. Dude, it's crazy, man. Like, you'll be shooting so much, and you'll have a guy just reloading your shotgun as fast as he can to give
Yeah.
you a fresh one. Like, it's wild. I mean, thousands of rounds. It's just
I
insane.
forgot who I was talking to. I was talking to a buddy, and he was like, because the trip will cost you about $3,000, but it's the rounds. You'll easily spend $3,000 to $4,000 on rounds. Is how much you're shooting down there, and
That's
you're
insane.
shooting so much that
Jesus.
they're reloading for you, and they gotta swap guns because you'll burn out those barrels. You're shooting so much. I mean,
That's freaking crazy, man. Dude, that would be like a hunt of a lifetime.
yeah, either that or I've always wanted to do like those British hunts where they have those little almost like little Kangol Scottish hats and the nice get up and
Mhm.
they got the saddlebags and the old English pointers next to you. Always want to do something silly like that too.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to just go to a different country and like live the way that they live and hunt the way that they hunt and just experience the way that, indigenous people of other countries have done stuff. Like I've always thought that would be freaking awesome to just go and do it how they've done it historically.
Yeah.
Dude, I think there's an episode of Meat Eater. They were hunting in South America, but they had their bows and things like that, right? But they were hunting with a group of natives, and I think one of the natives used or somebody shot a monkey. I think it was one of the natives there. They used like a poison dart and got this monkey, and then they ate it back at camp. I was like, dude, that's freaking nuts. That's wild.
I wonder what monkey would taste like.
I don't know if I could eat a monkey. I don't think I could do it, man. Like, monkeys freak me out, bro.
Why?
Primates freak me out. I don't know, dude, because they're just like they're so like close to being human, but they're not.
Yeah.
There's just like like little mutant us. It's just it's too similar, man. I don't think I can do it, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like we're so, and the crazy thing is, like, we're so, like, we share like what, like 90 something percent of our DNA. It's crazy how much of a difference that small percentage makes from like making us and making them. Dude, it's wow. They freak me out, bro. Even the little ones, they
so it'd
freak
be
me
kind
out.
of mentally
Can't
almost like
it's
eating
just
a human.
yeah. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, dude. Like, when people keep them as pets, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Of all
Just
the
go have a
things,
kid.
dude.
I promise.
Right. Dude, the thing about monkeys and like lemurs and stuff is they freaking like they're just like keeping a toddler. They stay the toddler behavior. So I remember one time I was paving roads out in Hayes County, and we were paving a road out in I don't remember what the place was called, but it was out there by like Hamilton Pool area, and these kids were riding around on a bike, and they had a freaking ring-tailed lemur just like hanging out with them, and I was like, that would be pretty cool. And so I started, looking into it. I was like, do you have to have a permit? Like, how do I get one? After seeing one, I thought it'd be cool. And I started looking into it, and there was like all these people online saying, don't get them, like, unless you have kids and you can handle the toddler age, because these things will, be alive for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they
Good
just act like
Lord.
a 3-year-old the whole time. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm good.
But they're just like, well, yeah, they live a long time, but they're strong, man.
Dude,
They are
they are.
strong. Like, I don't know if y'all remember this, but there's like a woman in Austin who had like a pet chimpanzee or something, and that thing turned on her and like destroyed her face. She had to get facial reconstruction. She was never the same after that. It's wild, man. And
Dude, there was that one guy that got his nuts ripped off by the one at the zoo. Yeah. Like, literally just reached through, grabbed him, and straight ripped him off. Like, oh, dude, I
yeah,
can't even.
dude,
I'm good.
bro. There's this girl I was talking to. She used to work at a zoo. I can't remember what species of primate it was, but they had like this one enclosure. And she said that she got a call over the radio to go over to the enclosure. So she went, her and someone else. And somehow a baby raccoon had gotten into the enclosure. One of the monkeys or whatever it was caught it. And dude, like, they were torturing this raccoon, bro. Like, they would get one of its little fingers and just snap it off. And then they would
What?
like laugh the way that they laugh. And all the monkeys were just like, whatever. And then they were just doing this one by one. And then like they didn't know what to do. They tried to get it back. Like, some species of primates will barter, they'll trade. So they're trying to trade something for the raccoon to get it back, like bananas or whatever the case it was. That thing would not, it wasn't having it. It wanted that raccoon. And so it inevitably came time for those people to go home. So they went home. They came back the next day, and there was no raccoon. Nobody knows what happened to it. They think they ate it. But dude, these things were torturing that thing. And they found it in the morning. So they worked like an entire 8-hour shift in the entire time. And maybe even beforehand, by the time they noticed it, that those damn things had that little raccoon and was torturing it, bro. Like, it's
That's
freaking
nuts.
nuts. So you
That's
imagine that
wild.
like World of the, or what is it called?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. That shit happens, bro. We're screwed. We're done.
Yeah,
Hey,
dude, that would suck. And they're so much stronger than we are.
dude. Yeah, I have a friend. He used to work at a primate sanctuary. They have an orangutan. They had an orangutan enclosure or whatever, and they're trying to like rinse out the cage with the water hose. Somehow, this thing got a hold of one of the water hoses, and it took 5 grown men. Like, they're playing essentially tug of war with this thing. This thing had one arm, and it was just doing whatever it wanted to with those dudes. They could not budge it. They only got the hose back because it got bored and gave them the hose back.
Dude, that's
I think I
nuts.
saw a video one time where like somebody got too close to an orangutan and like it grabbed him from the cage and it was like dragging him through.
That's freaking crazy. Dude, it's crazy how strong they
Bro,
are.
primates freak me out, dude. No way.
See,
Ain't
that
no
should
way.
be all the more reason to eat them, right?
To get rid of them. To assert your dominance.
Exactly. Got to show them who's boss.
Eat them in front of the other monkeys and just laugh while you're doing it.
Raw. Eat them raw in front of the other monkeys. Dude, did y'all hear about that guy that got in a motorcycle accident and his leg was all screwed up, and they tried doing surgery on it, and it kept, like, for some reason I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't, the surgery wasn't successful, so they were gonna have to amputate his leg. And he talked to them. He's like, can I keep it? And they're like, what? And he wanted to keep his leg. And so he signed all sorts of waivers and stuff like that and was able to keep the bottom half of his leg. Then he called all his friends over and said, hey, like, y'all want to try my leg? And he cooked up
What?
freaking fajitas with his
Dude,
leg, dude. And a couple
shut
friends stayed
up.
over. Dude, I'm dead serious. And this guy cooked up fajitas with the bottom half of his leg, and him and his friends ate it. I was like, what
That's
the hell is wrong with
disgusting.
y'all?
The way you set this up, I thought it was going to be a joke.
Well, I thought he for sure he's gonna say he got a monkey leg or something
Right?
instead of as a
That would have been nuts.
Dudes, there used to be a little Asian restaurant in San Marcos. It was a buffet, and my buddy used to. I stayed at his house one time and went to go eat there. He's like, "Did you want monkey butt?" I was like, "Do I want what?" He goes, do you want monkey butt?" I was like, I don't know what that is. He goes, "Come on, I'll show you." And he took me to the thing, and it was just chicken on a stick. It's what it was called. I was like, "Dude, why the
oh
hell do you call
man,
it
I got a
monkey
story
butt?"
for y'all.
And he's like, he goes, when I was a kid, my mom, like, she knew that I would like it. And so she didn't want me to try it. So she told me it was monkey butt, but I tried it anyways. So now we just call it monkey butt.
That's
So we
hilarious.
used to go to this island all the time with my ship, and they would stay there, and we'd do like my ship had two crews, so we had the boat for about 5 6 months, and then we swap other crews, and they take it over, and we fly out and come home, and they stay with it. Well, that island was just south of the Indian Ocean, just south of the Maldives. It's called Diego Garcia. Well, they contract Filipinos out there, right, to cook and run restaurants, and they do a lot of the other services for us. So they help out a lot. Um, so whenever we're out there, there's hardly any cell service, and like the only real thing to do out there is like hang out at the beach. It's pretty like tropical setting. Like it's just south of the equator, so it's always hot. Um, so really, all you do is just hang out and drink beer and get drunk, and basically party almost every day. I mean, it's just constant until you're ready to go home. Well, we'd go to this one place, and they would have this little guy that come off in a cart. And meanwhile, anytime you went to the store, you would never see any chicken, no beef in the store. It was always just like frozen, it was weird stuff like squid, like whatever they want to eat. Well, this guy would always come up in this cart when we'd be out like at some of the bars, and he'd be like, "Oh, chicken on a stick, $1." And we eat that shit up. I mean, and it was good, like barbecue chicken on a stick for $1. And you get to realize, and we're like, bro, there was never any chicken in that store. So where is this chicken on a stick coming from? And we're like,
Right.
bro, that's rat. That's rat on a stick. So we'd always call it rat on a stick. But we'd eat it, man. It was $1. It was good. So, screw it. I'll take some rat on a stick for $1.
Dude, there's been times like when we used to go down to Mexico a lot when I was younger, and there'd be the street vendors and whatnot. And they'd have chicken and beef and other. You don't know what the other was, but the chicken and
Yeah.
beef was like $2. The other was $1. Same shit on a stick. It's cheaper. Why not?
Yeah.
And it was good. To this day, I still don't know what it was. Could have been dog. Could
Yeah.
have been cat. Could have been rat. Oh, but it tasted good.
Exactly. I mean, some of these Chinese food places too. I've seen videos where they have like freeze dried and like vacuum sealed cat, but that's what with General Tso's chicken is. Man, that's just good as fuck.
Right? Shit, I'll still buy it.
Yeah.
Dude, I freaking love that stuff. There was a place that it's no longer open in town a little bit away from me called Benton, and it was actually a former Marine. Well, once a Marine, always a Marine. So it was a Marine, retired Marine, and he ran this Chinese food place. And he wasn't Chinese, but he ran this Chinese food place.
Yeah.
And all it was a drive-through. Like you couldn't go inside and eat. And dude, his General Tso's chicken was so good. And I'd tell him, I said, hey, I want that General Tso's chicken, make it extra spicy. And dude, he would put extra Szechuan peppers on it and whatnot. Dude, it was so freaking good. And it was cheap. Like he would fill up. So like, you get those styrofoam little clamshell
Yeah.
containers. Dude, he would load that thing up. It would make a mess in my truck every single time. I had to start laying it on the floorboard because he would load it full. And it was like $8. Dude, it was
Oh wow.
freaking amazing. And if I had my kids with me, he would see them in the back seat and he would always talk to them. I'd roll down the window and he would give them cookies for free and whatever else. Like
Nice.
it was a great place. Dude was friendly as hell. The food was good. It was cheap. And, unfortunately, you know how that goes. If, those small mom and pop businesses go down when pandemics come through, But
Yeah,
dude, that stuff
exactly.
was so freaking good. But hell, if it was
Yeah.
cat, I'd still eat it.
Exactly. It's pretty damn good cat to me. So, no
Right?
doubt.
Just don't tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, sir. Well, man, we appreciate you coming on. It's
Yeah,
it's
man,
been
no doubt.
going on an hour and 45 minutes, so it was great. I mean, you're always welcome back on. We had some good conversations, and I like hearing your take on duck hunting because, like I said, I don't know nothing about it. So we
Absolutely.
appreciate you coming on, and to all the listeners, if y'all made it to the end, we appreciate it. And if y'all like it, tell us. If you don't like it, tell us. If y'all have any duck hunting stories or sandhill crane hunting stories, let us know. We'd love to hear about them. Other than that, we'll catch y'all next time.
This has been Wildlife Outdoors. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook at Wildlife Outdoors and on Instagram at wild.life.outdoors. Let's go live life on the wild side.